So we witnessed history a few days ago. Washington Capitals hoist their first ever Stanley Cup. So let's talk about players who, now that we've got Nicholas Backstrom and Alex Ovechkin off the list, guys who have yet to get their first ever Stanley Cup. I pulled this off two lists online, NHL.com, and another one's like it's a slideshow. I don't remember which website it was through. It's fine. It's just they had the names ranked, and I'll just go through who I think is most likely going to get their first Stanley Cup, which is really a long shot. It's because you can't tell. I don't think any of us were coming out last summer going, "Hey, the Capitals are primed to win a Stanley Cup." Maybe Adam. Henrik Lundqvist leads the way, and the sad part for Lundqvist, a lot of us have started talking about whether or not he's going to go his whole career without a Stanley Cup. He's been a great player in the playoffs. Just he hasn't been on teams that have been geared to win the Stanley Cup. That's really what it comes down to. Joe Thornton, I have a funny feeling he's going to retire this summer. I think his name will come off the board due to retirement. If he does decide to come back, it'll be on a reduced deal, and the Sharks are definitely one of those teams that I could see winning it. Roberto Luongo, he's in Florida. Florida is not, I've got Florida gear on. I like Florida, but I'm realistic too. I don't see Florida as being a Stanley Cup champion anytime soon. Patrick Marleau in Toronto. I think Toronto's got a pretty good shot. I think Marleau's got a decent shot at winning a Stanley Cup before he retires. Shea Weber, not in Montreal. Weber dealt with injuries this season, and now there's got to be some concern as to how healthy he's going to be in October. Ryan Suter in Minnesota. Minnesota seems to be kind of spinning its wheels. Parise's on this list as well from Minnesota. I don't know. There are a lot of players that retire without ever winning a Stanley Cup. Ryan Miller in Anaheim. Rick Nash. I've got Boston there, but he's not coming back to Boston. If he's going to re-sign in Boston, it would have happened by now. Nash, you really can't tell till we find out where he's going to land, and of course people will immediately dive on and say, well, Rick Nash will never win anything. Joe Pavelski in San Jose, Brent Burns here, San Jose, Logan Couture over here. There's a lot of Sharks that are itching for a Stanley Cup, including Thornton if he returns. Honestly, the loss to Vegas, I think, tells San Jose where they need to fix things and where they need to get better. I do have some concerns on their blue line and with their overall scoring depth. I think their goaltending's fine with Jones as the starter, but yeah, there are some definite concerns. Claude Giroux. Well, he had the best year this year that I think he's ever had, especially towards the end of the season. But the Flyers, when are they going to get better? And is Giroux still going to be a member of the team when that happens? When they actually become a Stanley Cup champion. And I think the Flyers are going to end up doing that. With their current crop of youngsters, it's a matter of when. Pekka Rinne, Nashville, I don't see it. I think this year's run, I think, he likely wins the Vezina, but I honestly don't see Pekka Rinne as a Stanley Cup champion. They got really, really close last year, and that's that. I don't see it. Dallas, Jason Spezza. If Spezza gets there, it'll be as a bit player. Dallas is trying to get rid of him, so it really depends on where he ends up. Blake Wheeler, he's got a decent shot. So I would say of the guys on this side of the ledger, Weber and Marleau, I would say, have the best shot. And the three Sharks. So there's five guys I look at and say they could come off the board next year. San Jose could win it next year. So a lot of teams could win it next year because the Capitals have changed all the rules. Then we get into players entering their 10th year. This is players 30 and above, and this is players who are entering their 10th year, and according to NHL.com, they're the biggest names that haven't won a Stanley Cup, and I have to agree. Stamkos. I'm going to go ahead and put the asterisk there because he's got an excellent shot with Tampa. Erik Karlsson in Ottawa. There's some dysfunction in Ottawa. Ottawa needs to fix said dysfunction. Carey Price in Montreal. I'm wondering if he eventually gets traded. I really am wondering if he eventually gets traded. John Tavares, of course, there's an Islanders logo there, but we don't know where Tavares is going to end up. He's going to want a shot at winning. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Vegas logo next to him. One thing that I've been reading and hearing is that if Tavares does move on, he's going to want to play somewhere that he's not going to face a lot of media scrutiny. He likes to be kind of quiet to himself, and he likes to be kind of anonymous. I don't know if Vegas necessarily is going to work that way, but it's a fun atmosphere. San Jose could work for him that way. Absolutely could. PK Subban, Nashville. Again, I don't know if Rene's going to get closer to it. I think Subban eventually lifts the cup. Eventually. But I don't know that he does it in Nashville. Kovalchuk's a UFA on July 1st, and he's on the board. He was in the article as an honorable mention. He's going to go to a team that he feels he can propel over the top. At least that's what he's saying publicly, that he wants to win a Stanley Cup, and that's his prime concern. Couture, well, he's a Shark, so I'll go ahead and put that right there. Ryan Kessler in Anaheim, he's out all year. He doesn't play next year. All likelihood, 2018-19 season, he doesn't play. And usually when a player in their 30s skips an entire season, unless it's Gary Roberts and you can be out for a while and come back and still be effective, it is very difficult to work your way back into the league. So even if I thought the Ducks had an excellent shot in the upcoming next couple of years, I don't know that Kessler's going to be there. Pacioretty, I expect Pacioretty to be traded. And I'm going to be, I'm gonna push that rock a little bit further down the road. I'll say if it doesn't happen this summer, it happens by the deadline. And James Neal in Vegas wasn't on either list, but this guy knows how to get to finals, and he has to win one at some point, doesn't he? So there you go. List of notable players who haven't won Stanley Cups, who, and I put asterisks next to the one that I think should be on their way to a Stanley Cup win at some point soon. Winnipeg, Toronto, and San Jose are the three that I see as potentially sure. Again, the Capitals have changed all the rules. It's like, all right, well, the Capitals won one, so maybe everybody's got a shot. But you have to look at teams that are trending up, when they're trending up, in the case of Claude Giroux. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Let me know anybody that you don't see on the list that you think is going to win their next Stanley Cup, or their first Stanley Cup next. And it's a fun thing to look at during the summer. So again, let me know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. I'll talk to you again soon.